coming up at 1:30. My picks against the spread in the Southeastern Conference coming your way an hour or two. Of course, we got to get you ready for LSU and Army. I'm saying Auburn a lot this week. It's just very much not Auburn. LSU's not playing Auburn. LSU's playing Army, and I should probably get that right. I'm going to guess over the next 2 hours, I'm going to say Auburn again. It's just rolling off my tongue for some reason. But it's Army. LSU's playing Army. We'll get you ready for that. My final pick coming up at the end of the show. Unfortunately, we will start with the New Orleans Saints. Thursday night football last night in the Dome, Saints and Jags, and the Saints lose what was kind of a heartbreaker, 31-24. As the game goes final, I'm kind of sitting there going, how did it get to that? It just appeared to me that the Saints were totally outclassed for the first 40 minutes of game time. And I just kind of had resigned myself to the fact that Jacksonville's going to win this game by a couple of scores, and the Saints have no fight and no hope and no offense, and they're going to get run out of their own building. And then the Saints kind of found something on offense and obviously couldn't get the stop they needed on defense, but they had the ball late and had a chance, and they almost tied that football game or could have gone for two to win it late in the game. But the result is essentially the same that I thought after 2.5 quarters. The Saints lose the game at home. 31-24 was the final. I think the last 12 minutes of game time probably mask the first 3 quarters, but they shouldn't because the offense is still completely inept. On the Saints' first 8 possessions of the football game, the offense created 9 points and gave up 7 points on a pick six. Like the offense was up 2 on its first 8 possessions. Red zone offense, still atrocious. And Dennis Allen was asked about the red zone offense after the game and talking about going into the fade, which they just continue to run time and time and time again.
I think there's times where that can be, a good play, and obviously we didn't execute it, and certainly if we had, we'd be feeling differently, but we didn't get it done.
Clearly they think it's a good play because they throw it all the time. I've seen a lot of folks with the all-22 from the Texans game, the last 4 plays, 4 verts, chuck it. Last night, Foster's got to catch the football, no question about it. That's a ball that hits him right in the hands. You got to catch it. Absolutely have to catch the football. But then you've got a 4th down play, and you just chuck the fade. 1 read, 1 throw, 1 chance. 50-50 ball. It's not like you got Randy Moss out there. I don't see Calvin Johnson suiting up for the Saints. It's not some gross mismatch week in and week out. You got an aging Michael Thomas you're throwing some fades to, and he makes a good play last night on one. You got a 6'1" Chris Olave, who's a heck of a player, but I'm not sure he's a jump ball artist. Rashid Shaheed certainly isn't. This option doesn't make any sense to me that they continue to go back to it at the most crucial points in the game. It should be an option, not the option. And that's what it's turned into. And I mentioned Randy Moss, and I mentioned Calvin Johnson. Their elite size and athleticism, that gives you an advantage in their day in the red zone. You know who else has a lot of size? Jimmy Graham. And I dismissed the addition of Jimmy Graham all summer. Said, I don't think he's going to make the team. And people kept saying, he is going to make the team. He is going to make the team. And when I asked, why is he going to make the team when you already have Foster Moreau and you already have Taysom Hill and you already have Juwan Johnson, what do you need Jimmy Graham for? Well, he's tall. What about the red zone? 3rd downs. Well, they got some pretty important red zone possessions. He's never out there. And Dennis Allen was asked, well, where's Jimmy Graham?
It's a staff decision in terms of what we do, So I think anytime you're not successful down there, everybody's going to, want to know why you didn't do something else, And look, valid question, but that was we had the plan going in, and that was the plan.
I feel like you could label every problem on this Saints roster and just do the rubber stamp staff problem. Staff decision. Staff decision. Well, every staff decision stinks. And the team stinks. You've lost 4 of 5 at this point. And we're probably going to run this song and dance out like we did last year, saying, well, the division stinks. They're only a game back. Well, the division's not very good. They're right there. If they win the next 2, they stink. They're not any good. And what struck me last night was not that the offense was inept for 3 quarters. was not that they had some fight and heart and had a chance to win the game at the end. It was not that the defense couldn't get the crucial stop at the end that they needed to give the offense a chance. That wasn't it. That wasn't the most noticeable thing from last night. The most noticeable thing from last night to me, from my couch, was that dome turned on the Saints. That hasn't happened in 20 years. Now, it was a lot in the 90s, okay? Folks wearing bags on their heads and the ain'ts and the whole deal, sure. But for the last decade and a half, that has been one of the most fierce home field advantages in American sports, especially at night in prime time. And I've spent a lot of time in that city, and they love the Saints fiercely. The loyalty is deep down there in New Orleans. And I have a lot of friends that were at the game last night. And multiple friends of mine told me, I've never really heard the dome like that. Now, look, we're 35 years old, so we weren't, really present in the 70s, 80s, 90s when there was a lot of bad football being played and the Boo Birds were out. Most of our time paying attention to the Saints, it was Breeze and Peyton, and they were really good, and the dome was electric. And last night it was quiet, it was dead, and when the Saints continued to punt, go 3 and out, turn the ball over on downs, miss another field goal, good grief, stop doing that. There's Boo Birds. Like, that stings. And I almost always disagree with booing. I think that is counterproductive. I hear the fan who says, look, I go to work, I work hard, I spend a lot of money on these tickets, I spend a lot of money on this beer, and I'm here, and if you're not performing to the level that I expect, I'm going to boo. That's my right as a fan. It certainly is. You can do whatever you want. But in my opinion, you ought to be in there like trying to help the team and support the team. You think Derek Carr feels awesome when he's running off the field and there's 40,000 people booing? And then you get the fan that goes, I don't care, he needs to play better. And that's fine. Like I'm just telling you how I feel. But it feels like there's very little hope in the fan base, in the performance, in the organization. And that stings. That's bigger picture to me than, well, they've lost 4 or 5. Well, the red zone offense isn't any good. Well, they couldn't get a big stop last night. Well, they missed another field goal. Where's Jimmy Graham? Like, all that stuff is in small picture and the reason why they lost the game. But I'm just looking at this thing from a big picture perspective going, man, it's bleak. It was bleak last year. And they just don't seem to have any answers. The defense has so much pressure on it. And they're finally starting to crack a little bit. And the offense just can't get it together. I know they scored the 2 late touchdowns, and I know Foster Morrow's got to catch that football. There is no question about it. You may have an opportunity to go for 2 and win that game. And it probably does change the tenor of my conversation today. But they didn't make the play. It's like they didn't make the play last week against the Texans. It's like they didn't score a touchdown against Tampa. And you look back over this thing in big picture, and what am I supposed to cling to that tells me that things are going to get better at some point? Offensive line's going to get healthy. Carr and Olave will get on the same page. They'll catch the football when they need to make a big play. Come on, man. We've been doing this since last August. Bottom half of the league coach, generously speaking, middle of the league quarterback, bad offensive line, bottom of the league offensive coordinator. I mean, you saw Jacksonville running some plays last night, the creativity, getting the ball to the edges, using their speed. The Saints are just using the edges and throwing the ball deep. They don't run it well. They're not on the same page. It's just a depressing deal. And last night was the first time for me in 15, 20 years since Katrina that I looked and I heard that dome and I went, that's not good. And it's just hard to fix. You can get a new coach. You can get a new offensive coordinator. Your quarterback's synced to a deal that you're saddled with the next couple of years. Cam Jordan's not getting younger. Tyrann Matthew's not getting younger. Demario Davis isn't getting younger. Ryan Ramchik's not getting younger. Alvin Kamara's not getting younger. I'd like to be more optimistic because, as y'all know, like, I don't have an emotional tie here. This is not me flying off the cuff because I was ticked off last night. I'm just calling it like I see it here. And it just feels so different and so distant from Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, prime time. They come in there in the domes on TV. That place is on fire. Breeze comes out there. They're putting up 35 points. Like, that was a decade, and it just seems so distant. And as I was telling some of my friends last night, it's like, man, it looks really attainable to get a great quarterback because at a given time in the league, there's 8 or 10 guys playing at a really, really high level. And when you've got that, it's great. And when you don't, man, is it brutal. And the Saints just don't. They don't. They don't have a guy that's comfortable behind that bad offensive line. They don't have a guy that's making good decisions. They don't have a guy that's seeing wide open receivers in the end zone. Then you got Olave who's not running at times. Like, it's just, the whole thing's a mess. And last night was just kind of, I mean, I was at a kind of a breaking point last week with things. This is just kind of more depressing than it's like frustrating. It just feels a long way from good football. And resets are hard. And especially when you're in the situation that the Saints roster's in. This division over the last 2 years was put on a silver platter for the New Orleans Saints, and they have knocked the silver platter on the ground, spilled everything on it, and broken it in half. It's an absolute disaster in the worst division in the sport. And they've lost 4 of 5, and we'll see if they can use this many get by to get going. But the fan base doesn't feel good. We talked to Luke yesterday, and he said vibes are terrible. Last night certainly didn't help, and it stung to see it on the home field. So that's it for the Saints for a little bit. We'll talk LSU and college basically the rest of the way. We'll get Preston Guy on here coming up in a couple of minutes from TigerBait.com to talk LSU and Army. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app's so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued and withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time just slips away. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2640.
Week 8 in the prep football season, and we get you started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Woodlawn kick off at 7, and it's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Rolling right along, Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week is winding down nicely. It's our time to head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every Friday. Preston, how are you?
Hi, what's going on? I'm glad I'm covering the LSU beat, not the Saints beat this week.
I just had to say my piece on that. That was depressing last night in a number of different facets. But no depression on Saturday night in Death Valley last week, and certainly shouldn't be this coming week. Let's go back to the LSU and Auburn game. What did you like from the defense?
Well, I like that they're just playing a lot more discipline and with more just effort now. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the most disturbing part of the Ole Miss performance was just the lack of effort. And then second to that would be just the poor tackling. And we've talked about all year, if they could just fix those two issues, I do think this defense is approaching average, which is, what you need to be going forward. It's just average. Don't be this gaping hole of just free touchdowns. And I like that, they've really kind of settled down and come into their own. We talked about after the Missouri game, they gave up scores on drives that weren't, cut short by the clock on 17 out of 20 drives. You can't get much worse than that. But sometime after that third drive against Missouri, something seemed to click. And since then, you've only given up 6 scores on 20 drives. So definitely some improvement for this defense as they get, into the back half of their schedule here.
When you watch the defense and you see Omar Spates as opposed to Whit Weeks, where do you lie on that situation?
Man, I really like what I've seen out of Whit Weeks. I think he's definitely the more talented overall player. I think a lot of our judgment of Omar Spates, I think he's playing hurt early in this year. He certainly looked playing hurt, but he seems to be the most healthy he's been all year, dealing with that hip flexor. So I'm going to reserve some judgment. Let's see him play, a few more SEC games. Let's see how he looks. But, Whit Weeks, while he certainly looked good, wasn't flawless out there. Brian Kelly's been blunt about, he's a freshman playing out there and been making some mistakes, and he is. So I definitely understand why they're going with Omar in this place. I'm not 100% convinced that Whit isn't the better player, but I think that they're both good enough to be splitting time and getting on the field.
Have they found any pass rush, in your opinion?
I'm sorry, what about pass rush?
Have they found any?
It seems to be improving. Just getting these guys, their stance is correct, seems to have paid some strong dividends. And I think the story is with this defensive line is, they'll get some pressure, but they're not going to be an elite pass rush. They're just not going to get quarterbacks on their butts, and they're going to do some undisciplined things such as, pocket contain. Your ends are going to crash in quite a bit if that's what they're being given, and they're going to give quarterbacks some room to scramble. But I don't know that you found an elite pass rush, but it certainly seems to be getting more disciplined as the weeks keep on going.
You use the word elite there, so I guess we'll start talking about the offense. I mean, when you start looking at some of the things that they're doing and just how easy they make it look, it's really remarkable. Is there a weakness on the offense that you've seen or something that may concern you when they play better teams?
Offensive line is one that makes me nervous simply because we've seen against Florida State that offensive line Florida State got the better of them.
Yep.
And since then, it seems like that unit has won every single game. That does concern me moving forward because how do they look against elite units? And if your offensive line collapses, your entire offense collapses. That's just how important the trenches are. I don't think, especially because of the way this offense has improved this year, I really think Logan Diggs' emergence was the keys to really this offense taking it to a new level. And one thing that stands out to me is that Logan Diggs did not play against Florida State. We saw what the running game was against Florida State, and that was your worst offensive game of the year, right? So if you're able to dominate this offensive line and maybe make Logan Diggs a non-factor, maybe this offense does look more pedestrian. But that's my concern. It's not a strong concern, but if you make me pick one out, that's where I'm going to go. I still think this offense is going to be elite, and just about anybody they line up against, they're going to get their share of points.
What's important on Saturday, either side of the ball?
Kick enough ass to where Garrett Nussmeier opens up the third quarter, and you don't have to worry about getting guys hurt. Stay healthy.
I would completely agree with that. I'm been on record saying, like, if you schedule a triple option team in the regular season in college football, like, you're wasting a week basically practicing for things that you don't ever have to deal with. Now that Army doesn't run the triple option, I do think that there are some things that this defense can pull from playing a team that is that disciplined and does things a certain way.
Yeah, and I think this will be a good week to work on outside run contain for your defense. That's your second biggest problem, in my opinion, and I think that's where Hugh Freeze really brought a crappy game plan last week. Is you don't have a vertical passing game. You rank 15th in the SEC out of 14. Why did you try that? I don't know, but it did prove that as much as this defense has struggled this year, you do actually have to be good to take advantage of how bad this defense is. You do actually have to do some things well. You can't just line up Joe Blow out there and put up 600 yards in the air. So I think it's a good week to work on that. You know, the edge contained for these defensive ends has been very disappointing this year, and I'd like to see them try to focus and ensure that down, because if you're going to give up big yards in the air, you at least need to do some things to contain the run.
As far as young players that may get out there in the second half outside of Nussmeier, is there one that you'd like to see?
Oh, man, let's see. Caleb Jackson. I mean, I feel like it's almost cliche saying his name at this point, but every time he gets out there, he's so exciting. Caleb Jackson, I'm looking forward to seeing how Lance Hurd handles it. I presume he'll be the starter this week with Emory Jones, banged up with his ankle. I'm excited to see how he handles a full start because he looked very good. It was one of those things you can't really watch every offensive lineman on every snap, but it's kind of like being the long snapper. If you aren't talking about him, probably doing something pretty good. And that's kind of what we got out of Lance Hurd. He just quietly took care of business last week.
You have any thoughts on Alabama-Tennessee on Saturday?
I hope it is a rough, physical beatdown of a game, and many players are not injured, but just hurting from it, because we got a 7-6 just grueling beatdown of a physical slugfest, and it's going to take about 2.5 weeks to feel 100%. That's what I'm hoping you get out of it.
Targeting fouls in the second half on Alabama players? That's what you're looking for?
All of that. Yeah. Get some Devin White action in there.
All right. Enjoy the weekend, Preston. We appreciate your time.
All right, hon. Take it easy.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, our guest here each and every Friday. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Look, may not be a huge tailgate for you this week. Hunting season's cranking up, and it's a non-conference game. Maybe a few folks not going to be there, so you don't need to pull out all the stops, all the cooking at the tailgate party. Just try Corks. Corks will get you fed. It's awesome. They do fantastic work with their catering. They can feed large sums. Give them a call today. Tell them, hey, this is what we want. This is when we want to pick it up. They will get it to you. Delicious Gulf, big fried shrimp, crispy catfish, fantastic batter, the shoestring fries. They can help you out with all of your catering needs for your tailgate, or just swing by for a late lunch or some food on the way out to the high school field tonight. Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out that menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. Great po' boys over at Corks, as well as shrimp or the catfish. They bring you our shows each and every Friday. I want to remind you about Live After 5 as well. I'll be emceeing Live After 5 downtown at, you guessed it, 5 o'clock till about 8 o'clock. It's always a good time. Got some great brass music that we'll have out there this evening. So come pull up a chair, get some delicious food and drinks from all the vendors that are out there. It's a wonderful time. The weather's nice on this Friday afternoon. So I'm looking forward to getting out to Live After 5 this weekend, and I hope to see you out there as well. All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll get you ready for the NFL Sunday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. Look, it's not just about a renovation or a remodel in the bathrooms at times. It can be a health situation. If you need safer bathroom, whether you just like to be safer or you have an aging loved one that may need some help, nonstick floors, walk-in tubs, handrails near the toilet or shower areas, all that stuff, David Duvall and his team can do. And if you're saying, not a great time for me to pay for anything like that, they've got financing options at OneBathAndClosets.com. Let David Duvall and his team, they've been in the business 30 years. They can come over, start you with a free consultation. You can give you their issues or problems that you may have. They can say, okay, well, we can fix that, and here's how we'll do it. They'll get you taken care of, and I can promise you this, they're going to do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, check for that free consultation, look at pictures of their great work, see the testimonials of their satisfied customers. You'll know you're in the right place. It's OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Sunday, we bring you 3 different NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff Lions at Ravens. Then immediately following that, we have the Chargers and Chiefs, and then our nightcap, the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Been reminding you this week about the first ever Baton Rouge Kids on the Catwalk Dreams Come True fashion show. It's coming up next week, October the 26th, at the Country Club of Louisiana. Dreams Come True kids are going to be walking the catwalk with local dignitaries as their escorts. Glenn Foster would qualify. I'm not sure if Richard Condon's a dignitary, but he'll be there as well. Shot at old Rich. Admission includes dinner and an open bar. There'll also be live and silent auctions featuring celebrity auctioneer T-Bob Hebert. May have heard of him. Purchase your tickets or tables online at dctofla.com. That's dctofla.com. Dreams Come True. Such a fantastic organization, and we're thrilled that we can be a small part of raising some money to make some of these dreams come true for these kids that are fighting tough battles at such a young age. NFL on Sunday will not include the Saints, who were a disaster last night, but it will include a lot of football every week at this time. We go through the NFL slate and put them into tiers. Tier 4 is the bad stuff, 2 games there this week. Tier 3, 4 games in Tier 3. Tier 2 is where we start getting some quality football. That is, there's 3 games in Tier 2 this week. And then Tier 1, that's the good stuff, and there are 2 of those games this weekend. Let's give you a little nugget on all of them. The Raiders are at the Bears. This is in Tier 4, obviously. Neither quarterback practice this week. Tyson Bagent is going to start for the Bears, we think. He will be the first D2 grad to start in the NFL since John Kitna. Remember that name? John Kitna. So if you want to watch Raiders at Bears, that's on you, quite frankly. Cards at the Seahawks. I've got that in Tier 4 as well. Arizona's been an underdog 15 straight games. That would be really super impressive if you realize that the longest streak since this one was 31 in a row by the Cardinals. From 2002 to 2004, the Cardinals were underdogs in 31 straight, and they'll be underdogs in Seattle this week. That's my survivor pick this week, the Seahawks. Let's go to Tier 3 now. The Browns are at the Colts. The Browns' defense is awesome. They've allowed 1,002 yards total this year through 5 games. That's the 3rd fewest that anyone has allowed since the merger in 1970. Crazy good defense for the Browns, and they'll get Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts in Indy this week. Bills at Patriots. This is Tier 3 for me because the Pats are awful. The Bills are 2nd in the NFL in takeaways. The Patriots are 3rd highest in terms of giveaways. And the Patriots' -8 turnover differential is the worst in the NFL. The Patriots aren't good at anything except giving the ball away, and the Bills take it quite frequently. So we'll see how that one goes in Foxborough, but I got a feeling the Bills are going to roll. The Commanders are at the Giants up there in Jersey. The Giants are 9-22-1 against the NFC East in 5 years and change. 9-22-1 against their own division, but 6 of those wins have come against the Giants. Just 3 against the other 2 teams in the division. So we'll see if they can get a win up there in the Meadowlands. I kind of have my doubts. The Packers are at the Broncos. Jordan Love has 1 touchdown and 5 picks in the last 2 games. Remember, that's the Jordan Love that beat the Saints a little bit earlier. 1 touchdown and 5 picks in his last 2 games. The Packers have scored 3 points or less in 3 consecutive first halves. The Broncos are just terrible, though. So we'll see how that one goes. That's one of the worst defenses we've seen in the sport in quite some time. Maybe the Packers can get on track in that one. All right, that's the bad stuff. That's Tier 4. That's Tier 3. We'll get rid of that. We'll go to Tier 2. This is where it starts getting pretty good. And this next one would probably be in Tier 3, except for the fact that the Saints are so bad. So this is in Tier 2. The Falcons at the Bucs. The winner leads the NFC South. That's tough to swallow. The Bucs are second in the NFL in blitz rate. They blitz the second most in the league. And Desmond Ritter's numbers against pressure are really, really bad. I think the Bucs are going to turn up the pressure on Desmond Ridder in Tampa on Sunday. The Steelers are at the Rams. Pittsburgh is 30th in the NFL in points scored. They are 29% in the red zone. If you think the Saints are bad in the red zone, Matt Canada's Steelers are even worse, which is really hard to imagine at this point. The Chargers are at the Chiefs. 5 of the last 6 between these two teams have been decided by 6 points or fewer, and all 5 of the Chargers games this year have been decided by 7 or less. The Chargers did a good job of winning those games last year. This year, they're just 2-3 in those games, so we'll see if they can keep it close with the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's what they've been doing over the last couple of years. All right, Tier 1, this is the really good stuff here in the NFL weekend. The Lions, who have been fantastic, are at the Ravens in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson is 15-1 against the NFC in his career. Only lost the NFC one single time. The Lions are 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 road games, and they've been great this year. This is really 2 of the better teams in the NFL. Of course, pulling for the Lions. Need to hand the Ravens another loss, but I've got a feeling Lamar Jackson and Baltimore are going to get it done. And the Dolphins are at the Eagles, which is going to be a fantastic game. Of course, it's the 2 former Bama QBs, Tua and Jalen Hurts, played together. It's the top 2 offenses in points per game. It's the top 2 rushing teams in the NFL. But Jalen Hurts hasn't played as well in the last couple of weeks. He's already passed his interception total from last year. I know he's on my fantasy squad, so you turn it over against the Dolphins, you're in for a world of hurt because those teams are going to score a ton. This is a big, big football game up there in Philly between 2 of the best teams in the sport. So that's your look at the NFL. I got one thing here. Yep, Zydeco. Baton Rouge Zydeco take the ice for the first time when they face off with the Columbus River Dragons Thursday, October the 26th. Single game tickets start at just $10, and you can get them online at RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com or through Ticketmaster. Register for a chance to win free Baton Rouge Zydeco tickets from 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. All right, time to get to some LSU and Army. We'll do that after this timeout on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about my folks at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% of Generac dealers in the country. Protect yourself from power outages. They're just annoying. It's not a great situation to have that power go out trying to watch a game, just trying to live in general. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out with that. They'll have a technician come out. I promise you it's going to be a full-time employee of Boudreaux's, not somebody they've 1099 to come do a job. They're full-time employees, and they're going to do it the right way. They can customize that generator to your exact needs, whatever the size of the home may be, whatever you're trying to get accomplished when the power goes out. Boudreaux's can help you do it perfectly to meet your specifications. Got the same number they've had for 40 years. Call them 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, and every generator you buy from Boudreaux's Electric comes with a free 10-year warranty. Can't beat that. Free 10-year warranty? Come on. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
It's Musso. Join us for Friday's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We're previewing the college football weekend with Phil Steele. Terrio in studio for the Riot Radio Hours, our guest picker, and more. It's Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
It's been a week of really talking a lot about, playing physical and playing disciplined. And so, I think our guys understand what the task is at hand on Saturday. We've talked a lot about the periphery of the game in terms of, first time in Tiger Stadium, and we're excited about that. But we got a game to play as well, and an opponent that, causes you problems if you're not thinking the right way and playing the game the way it needs to be played against Army.
Brian Kelly talking about trying to get his guys focused. That's going to be a task this week. There's no question about it. You've come off a 5-game SEC meat grinder. You've got what you know to be a huge game coming up after a bye week that you're very excited about. I've talked to players that I've worked with over the years, whether it's Hester, whether it's Jeremy, Brandon, Marlon, all those guys that have played at LSU. Bye week's awesome for those guys. They work out a couple of days, maybe till Wednesday, and they get 4 days off. They can go home, see family, travel, get down to New Orleans. There's a lot they can do. And that's all right there on the horizon. And now you're playing Army. You're not playing Ole Miss. You're not playing Mississippi State. You're not playing Alabama. You're playing Army. And you've got to find a way to get those guys locked in for 60 more minutes. If you can get them locked in for 60 more minutes, you go out there, you do some light work and practice, and then you let them come back a week later refreshed and ready to roll. But you're going to have to try to get them focused. I talked about it yesterday, or maybe it was Wednesday. I don't have to focus on Army. I'm already talking about what this team needs to look like at this point and what they need to do against Alabama and what I'd like to see in the second half and what young players I'd like to see. But they've got to try to get it locked in this week, and that's certainly going to be a task when you're talking about 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who understand that they're million-point favorites, that their offense is clicking on all cylinders, and that they're going to go out there and win the game on Saturday. But you got to rein them in, and it can be easier said than done, obviously. The defense has a different challenge on its hand this week, and we talk about the defense each and every week and what they need to do to get better and how poorly they've been, and we slap statistics on it, and we tell you about this and that. But this is a little bit of a different challenge, and one that I've said all week, hey, usually this is a throwaway week for the defense because you're dealing with a triple option. You're dealing with cut blocks that you'll never see again. You got weird ball handling stuff and assignments you would never have. But that's not true this time around. This is a team that runs an offense that more resembles a quote-unquote normal offense than the Army teams that we're used to. And Brian Kelly talked about the linebacker spot and what they're going to need from that group against Army.
You're looking for, eye discipline. Your reads are such that you're seeing the guard pull, but, you might have the tight end running down the middle of the field and you've got them in coverage. So these contradictory reads within, the option offense are what challenge you, so much, especially at the linebacker position and the safety position. So, just being disciplined is what we'll need to see from our linebackers and getting off blocks. They're obviously really good up front and they know what they're doing.
And that's why I think you're going to see a lot of Omar Spates early in this game and a lot of Greg Penn early in this game, because those guys have seen a lot of this. Whit Weeks is really fun to watch when he's running sideline to sideline. He's running downhill and he's making tackles, and he's laid the lumber a couple of times this year. But he's young, and this is going to be a different test than anything he's ever seen. So I think you're going to see him play in this game, but I think they're going to lean on some of the older guys defensively. And it's like Brian Kelly said, you're just going to have to be very, very disciplined with your eyes on defense to handle things. It's probably a game, quite honestly, that I would have felt weird about if LSU's defense had gotten gashed by Auburn, because Auburn runs a lot of things that are a little different, and they've got eye candy, and they do different things in the run game. And I'd be like, man, I've seen service academies kind of get things rolling. I mean, look, Georgia Southern ran for $1 billion on Alabama's 2011 defense. It was maybe the best defense I've ever seen. Y'all are familiar with that one, the one that had Dre Kirkpatrick and Mark Barron and Dante Hightower and all those guys that were just studs. Darius was on that team, I think. Maybe he was gone by then. But the point remains, if you're not quite prepared for it, and certainly if your defense isn't very good, which LSU's proven it hasn't been, but LSU handled Auburn in a way that makes me think, okay, they're going to be just fine to handle this. It's not an offense that Troy had trouble handling last week with a backup quarterback. So I think that LSU be just fine. On the offensive side, we're going to hear a little bit from Will Campbell here, and this goes back to the point that we made at the beginning of the segment, hey, these players need to kind of lock in and do this one more time before they're free and they can start focusing on Bama. And Will Campbell talked about not looking past Army.
Just like Coach Davis tells us, you're 1 weekend away from getting embarrassed. So there's really nothing that we're looking forward to. This is our main focus is, Saturday night against Army. And, that's where everybody's focused at in the building, because they're a physical football team and they can give us a run for our money if we don't, come out there and do what we need to do. So we have to be locked in and do what we do.
Just no doubt where that kid's from. He is so from Monroe. You could just hear it dripping out of his mouth there. But he is absolutely from Monroe. But he's given the correct message. I guess you say it enough times, you gotta lock in. I like that it's a night game, and I like that people are feeling good after a win last week. I think the environment will be decent, and so hopefully the Tigers are locked in and loaded. But on Will Campbell's unit, you are going to play a man down because Emory Jones is dealing with an ankle injury, and he's going to sit down. We're not sure whether or not he's going to be back for Alabama, but certainly won't play in this game, and so you're going to count on Lance Hurd to come in and play. What does it mean replacing Emory Jones?
Coach Davis coaches everybody, as if they're getting ready to play. So, we expect nothing else to change. It is unfortunate that Emory goes down, and, hopefully he'll be ready for, the game in a few weeks. So, we'll just take this game one game at a time and see how it goes.
Careful not to say Alabama there, game in a few weeks, but we understand the situation. And the good news is that Lance Hurd has gotten some reps early in this season. It looked very much like Lance Hurd was trending to take basically Miles Frazier's job, because you were going to kick Emory Jones down and play Lance Hurd at right tackle, and that was what it looked like we were heading towards. We saw some of that against Grambling. We saw some of that against Mississippi State, and somewhere along the line, maybe it was in Oxford, they said, no, we're going to leave Miles Frazier there, and we're going to stick with Emory Jones on the right tackle spot. But, of course, Emory goes down, which is bound to happen. You're just very rarely going to play 12 regular season games and have your offensive line stay healthy. It's just they're really big. They're in collisions every play. They're in awkward spots, getting rolled up on, not looking where the ball is. It's just a group that gets hurt a lot. And so you're bound to have some bumps and bruises on the offensive line. And in this case, I think LSU is pretty well prepared for it, and it's a good spot for Lance Hurd to come in. I'll tell you this: Army is fairly small on the lines of scrimmage. You're looking at a group on the defensive line that doesn't approach 300 pounds anywhere. You're talking about at defensive line, you've got Chris Fry, who's 265. Their nose tackle, Kyle Lewis, is 6'3", 280. The other defensive lineman's Austin Hill. He's 6'1", 255. That's kind of linebacker size in the SEC at this point. So it's a massive size advantage for LSU at the point of attack, and Lance Hurd just adds to that because he's just a ridiculously large human. Those that go to the game on Saturday, just look at Lance Hurd standing next to some of his teammates. He is a mountain of a human. We'd go out to practice in Ogden and be like, goodness gracious, that's a huge guy. He's huge. I feel it's the same thing people were saying about Trevor Penning at Saints camp last week. But hopefully Lance Hurd's debut goes a little bit better than Trevor Penning's. He's certainly going to be dealing with some guys that aren't quite NFL level at this point. So I think the offensive line is going to be just fine, and the offense should hum. It's just a focus issue and a concentration issue, and you hope that LSU has got that, and you hope that they can do enough in the first half to whittle away and to take care of their business and to get a win over Army convincingly in the first half, so you can see some young guys that may factor in and play a little bit. Congratulations to Dean Lurkey. He won last week, week 7 of our Pick'em. You got to get those picks in every single week by noon on Thursday, so this week's deadline has passed us. But we invite you to play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. You'll play for next week coming up. But want to remind you about that each and every week. You win Twin Peaks gift cards, which is a cool deal. I want to set the stage for the weekend for you. Hope you're enjoying our Football Friday. We're right smack dab in the middle of a Football Friday right now. We go live and local from 7 a.m. to midnight on Fridays. 7 a.m. OTB is live, and then we go straight into Live at Lunch from Rufino's. They'll be out there each and every Friday from 10 until 1. I'm with you 1 to 3. Matt's on 3 to 6. But after Matt is done, you got Louisiana Prep Preview with Cade Wassan and his cast of thousands. They got the stadium crawl. They're all over the place covering high school football until 6:45. That's when they hand it off to the Catholic High broadcast and hear the Bears games each and every week here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And when Catholic goes final, you can hear Cade and his crew right back in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio for Louisiana Prep Scoreboard until midnight, recapping the Friday in Louisiana high school football. But Saturdays sometimes can change up depending on the time. So this week, we'll crank things up at 1:30. That's Eagle 98.1 Game Day from Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. If you're looking to get out to campus to tailgate a little bit, Rouse's is always a great spot to get to. To do that, you can see Matt Musso and Charles Hannegriff there set up at the Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. They're with you from 1:30 until 4:30. At 4:30, they hand off to the LSU Sports Radio Network. That's me. Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite with you from just outside of Tiger Stadium. We'll do 90 minutes of pregame for the network and then hand it off to the broadcast team who will give you the call of the game. At that point, 30 minutes after it goes final, you have myself, Brandon, and Marlon back in studio giving you the Fighting Tiger postgame report for an hour. 90 minutes after the game goes final, Eagle 98.1 Game Day from right here in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. That's Charles Hannegriff and Richard Dixon. They'll take your phone calls for 2 hours. So talking about 1:30 in the afternoon until about 2:30 in the morning, we got you covered over on Eagle 98.1. If you missed any of the first hour of the show today, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. On-demand tab. All our shows are archived there each and every day at 1045ESPN.com. You can always find us on Google, on Spotify, on YouTube as well. All of our stuff is archived on demand each and every day. I reacted to the Saints' pitiful performance last night at the top of the show, and it just kind of feels like to me that the fan base and the organization is kind of losing hope. That's what the overarching theme was last night. It just doesn't seem like a way out of this. Maybe you feel differently. You can see how I felt, and you can catch that on our Saints YouTube channel, which is called Hunt on Saints. Got over 1,000 subscribers earlier this week, so I appreciate you all for hitting that like button and that subscription button. That helps us out a ton. Hunt on Saints for all your Saints football. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com was with us at 1:15 talking Tigers. We went through our NFL schedule at 1:30, a little LSU and Army talk there to end the hour. We still got hour 2 coming up for you. We'll get my SEC picks against the spread. Had a perfect week last week. We'll see if we can keep that momentum going. Still got time to talk Army and LSU. We'll do some take it or leave it. And, of course, my final pick is coming up at the end of the show. Our Friday show is always brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by Cork's. New food concept here in Baton Rouge. Unbelievable fried shrimp and fried catfish. Got those crispy shoestring fries. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. It's from the same folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue right here in Port Allen and in Baton Rouge, and it is fantastic. If you're one of those people saying, hey, I'm from South Louisiana, like, I'm not going to go through a drive-thru for my seafood. That's not how it's going to work. Just go to Cork's one time. I promise you, you will have a wonderful experience. Their recipe was born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. They got jumbo Gulf shrimp, delicious catfish, great po' boys. They can do some tailgating. They can feed your office as well. So if you're looking for a catering order, Corks is your spot. Their website is corksfishandshrimp.com. Again, that's corksfishandshrimp.com. That's going to do it for hour number 1. Come back after SportsCenter, some SEC football on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales, near the new Heritage Shopping Center. Look, we had some Jersey Mike's for lunch this week. They brought some subs over. I had the club, but their best seller is the original Italian. Got that ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni. It is awesome. Their cold subs blew me out of the water. I do love the hot ones, though. Talking about some chicken, bacon, ranch cheesesteaks. Talking about that steak, cheesesteak. When you order the hot ones at Jersey Mike's, they immediately drop your meat right there on the griddle. Get it nice and warm. Melt that cheese over it. It is A+. And if you need a catering order, Jersey Mike's can help you out with that. 20% off for the listeners of the Hunt Palmer Show if you do your catering through Jersey Mike's. I want to remind you, you can find them at the Jersey Mike's app. You can find them on DoorDash or ASAP. Any way you're getting your delivered food, Jersey Mike's can help you out with that. So stop by and see our friends at Highway 30 in Gonzales near that new Heritage Shopping Center. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front to back.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Andre Iguodala spent a lot of time in the 2015 NBA Finals defending LeBron James. That defense helped the Warriors win the first of their 4 titles in 8 years. Iguodala tells Anscape today he's retiring after 19 years in the NBA. ESPN has learned a low-level staffer with the Michigan football program is a key figure in the allegation of sign stealing. Connor Stallions is a football analyst for the team and a retired Marine captain who is now suspended. ESPN's Heather Dinich.
It's not legal for coaches to go to other schools and scout. This isn't high school on Friday night. So, first of all, that's illegal. And so when coaches throughout the Big Ten heard that this was the allegation, there were some comparisons to 2007 Patriots and Spygate.
Heather Dinich on Get Up. Giants wideout Cole Beasley gets his wish. He'll be cut from the practice squad. Beasley is now healthy after a quad injury, but hasn't played yet. He's hoping to sign with another team.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Monday, while the Cowboys and the Bengals enjoy their bye, I'll tell you what they need to do better if you want me to believe in them. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right. One more hour to go here on the Hunt Palmer Show this week. Down the stretch we come, as Matt Moscona would say. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Hopefully your work week's in the rearview mirror. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here over the next couple of hours. Still got to talk LSU and Army, plus my final pick at the end of the show. We'll make some SEC picks against the spread. Look, I'm hot. When you're hot, you're hot. 5-0 last week against the number in the SEC. Only 4 games to pick this week, as nobody is out of conference this week and a couple teams on their buys. So we got to stay hot. We're above 500 for the year. We're 30-27 overall, which we like. We got to get this thing to the finish line one way or another. So we'll do this thing chronologically. We'll start at 11 a.m. I said this on Monday with Denton Day when he came on. And I'm a one TV guy. I only have one. I guess I could pull my computer up. I don't have a room that has multiple screens anywhere. Realize that's rare these days. But I think I'm going to go Ohio State, Penn State over Mississippi State, Arkansas. Is that expected? Is that frowned upon? I'm not sure this part of the world. I always just watch the SEC. I never watch Notre Dame. I don't watch a lot of Pac-12 football. Like I'm heavy on the SEC when I'm watching football. And I think I might have to go Penn State, Ohio State. I think it's going to be a really, really good game at 11. And I don't know that Mississippi State, Arkansas is going to be all that well played. Look, Arkansas is a 6-point favorite. They're finally home after a month away. We've made a big deal about this. They played BYU at home, then they came to Tiger Stadium, went to Arlington to play A&M, went to Tuscaloosa, went to Oxford, and they were in all these games. They just couldn't win them. And so they come back home. The fan base morale is really low. I'm sure there's pretty low morale within the program, but that's also the case with Mississippi State, who's terrible. So I look at this game. Arkansas is a 6-point favorite. Arkansas is 14th in the SEC in total offense. That is dead last, and that's kind of shocking. You didn't know how much they were going to miss Kendall Briles. It appears they really miss Kendall Briles. Mississippi State, however, is the 11th ranked defense in the SEC in terms of total defense. That shocks me because that's a unit that brought back a lot of its front seven, kept its coordinator still on staff, and then elevated a linebackers coach. So should have been a lot of continuity. They should have been pretty good. They are not. Just not good at all. So something's got to give there between Arkansas's bad offense and State's bad defense. State is going to try to run the ball when they have it. Woody Marks is in the top 5 of the SEC in running. Arkansas's run defense is 11th in the SEC. It's not very good. I just don't trust Mississippi State. I think they're poorly coached. I think their talent level's low. I just think they're bad. Now, they did score some points on South Carolina. Maybe that's a positive. But I just there's too much bad for me to overlook with Mississippi State. Arkansas is at least fighting, at least competing, at least in games. They got to play better offense at home, you would think, in front of their home crowd. I don't expect it to be raucous in there at 11 o'clock in the morning for a team that's lost 5 in a row, but being at home certainly helps. Give me Arkansas. I will lay the 6 points. I'm really kind of fading State there. I think they're just awful. Then the big one in Tuscaloosa. It is the third Saturday in October. That means only one thing. It means that Alabama and Tennessee must play, and CBS will be there to broadcast it. This is something I've been on every Monday, when we react to games in the weekend, every Wednesday when we do power rankings, every Friday when I pick games. The reality of the situation this deep into the year is that Alabama's offensive line is not good. There are some pieces of that team that are very good. The offensive line is not one of them. Texas sacked him 5 times and had 9 tackles for loss. South Florida sacked him 5 times, had 8 tackles for loss. Ole Miss sacked him 4 times, 9 tackles for loss. Mississippi State sacked him 4 times, 7 tackles for loss. Arkansas sacked him 5 times. A&M had 8 TFLs and 6 sacks in that game. Like, everybody is making plays behind the line of scrimmage on this Alabama offensive line. And Tennessee is maybe the best in the conference at tackles behind the line of scrimmage. They're 7th in the country in TFLs. They're 6th in the country in sacks. When you look at this on paper, there is no way that Tennessee does not create a lot of pressure in the backfield. The good news for Alabama is that Jalen Milroe moves pretty good. So while they have given up a lot of sacks, he is able to create some things with his legs. What Jalen Milroe does better than maybe anybody in the league outside of maybe Daniels is create those huge plays through the air. They hit those deep pass plays, and that's a staple in the Alabama offense that's been pretty pedestrian this year. Tennessee allows the second fewest 20-yard pass plays in the SEC. Their defense has been good. Tennessee's has. But can Tennessee score? That's the problem. I never thought we'd ask that after what we saw from Hendon Hooker for 2 years, but can Tennessee score any points? Bama's number 12 in the country in scoring defense. Tennessee only scored 20 on A&M. They only scored 16 on Florida. Like, they haven't been an offensive juggernaut by any stretch. Bama's laying 9 here, okay? And I expect this game to be fairly low scoring because I don't think Alabama's going to be able to block, and I don't know that Tennessee is very good on offense. They don't run the ball like great, and they certainly don't throw it near what they did last year. There are only 3 teams in the SEC worse throwing the football than Tennessee. Low scoring generally means give me the points. I think Tennessee's going to have a chance to win this game in a low scoring one, but I'll certainly take every bit of those 9 points. So give me the Vols plus the 9. 2:30 on the SEC Network, South Carolina and Missouri. 7.5 is the number here. That's kind of a fishy line. South Carolina's defense, y'all, is atrocious. They gave up 41 to Florida. They gave up 40 to Tennessee. They gave up 30 to Mississippi State. 30 to Mississippi State? 31 against North Carolina. Like, only Vanderbilt has a worse scoring defense than South Carolina in the SEC. And Mizzou can score. Mizzou's 4th in the SEC in scoring. Brady Cook's played great. He's running the ball. He's making good decisions. He's hitting the deep ball. Luther Burden's running all over the place on everybody. Like, LSU's defense is bad. I mean, don't misunderstand me. But I was impressed with what I saw from Missouri from an offensive perspective. I don't respect their program as a member of the SEC. I made that abundantly clear. But I was impressed with what they did that day in Columbia. South Carolina does nothing well except snap the ball to Spencer Rattler and see what he can do. And he's great. And Leggett's made some plays down the field. Their defense does not have a strength. They don't run the ball worth a flip. It's just Rattler trying to make plays. And I think Missouri's pretty good. Missouri's going to score 40 points in this game. And I only have to lay 7.5. That's fine with me. I'll take it. I will fall for the stinky line. I think Missouri rolls South Carolina in this game up in Missouri in the Battle of Columbia's. Night game, 6 o'clock, Ole Miss and Auburn. I'm probably going to watch a little bit of this one in the press box. I was certainly watching a lot of Texas-Bama in the press box during LSU Grambling. So we'll see what we can do with Ole Miss and Auburn. That's a 6.5-point number at Auburn. That's a stinky line, too. Vegas is begging you to take Ole Miss here, which is weird. Ole Miss's defense, if you take the LSU game out, which you can't do, but if you take the LSU game out, they're only allowing 18.8 points per game. And we saw last week, like, Auburn's got some offensive issues. So Ole Miss's defense should be really good. Auburn's defense probably is better than they showed last week. They just had no answers for LSU. But Ole Miss has a pretty good offense as well. This is the Hugh Freeze Bowl. We know that both of these coaches had this game circled. Hugh Freeze trying to get back at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin flirting with Auburn last week. Hugh Freeze, whatever. Like, these two guys had this game circled, and I expect their best. Everything that my eyes have seen this year says you've got to take Ole Miss and lay the 6.5. Everything. Ole Miss has looked pretty good. Their offense has some rhythm. Their quarterback's played well. Their defense has been pretty good outside of one game. Auburn Goes to Cal, they can't do anything to score. They don't score an offensive touchdown against A&M. They come to Baton Rouge, they can't get a stop. They don't move the ball in a bad defense. Like, there's nothing my eyes have seen that would say that I should take Auburn here. But I think Hugh Freeze is a good coach. That's at home, should be a great environment. There are people at Auburn that, even though they've lost some games, they're excited about the direction of the program because they've got a guy who's proven he can win some games in the SEC, who's proven he can beat Nick Saban and is recruiting at a very high level. There's some buzz there. There's some energy there. It's Auburn. They're a family, and they're going to show up, and they're going to show out, and they're going to put together a great performance, I think. I think that they're going to cover this number, and they might win. What do we keep saying? Hugh's going to beat somebody. Hugh's going to beat somebody. Well, he didn't beat A&M. He didn't beat who'd they have? Oh, A&M. Who did all? Oh, they didn't beat LSU. And they didn't beat Georgia when they had a chance. That's what I was looking for. Maybe they're going to beat somebody. This would be a pretty good spot for it. And quite frankly, LSU would really enjoy that because Ole Miss is very much in play for the Southeastern Conference Western Division title. So maybe it's a little bit of a heart pick here, but I'm going to take Auburn to cover the 6.5 points in this one. Those are your SEC games. Once again, my picks: Arkansas -6 at home against Mississippi State. Tennessee getting 9 points in Tuscaloosa. I'll take Missouri and gladly lay the 7.5. That's like my lock of the week. That one's got to hit. Lay the 7.5 against South Carolina. And I will take Auburn plus a 6.5 with no real statistical backup for it other than, hey, I think it's probably going to happen. So that's my picks against the number in the Southeastern Conference. It's a Football Friday. Our show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by for a late lunch or get on through the drive-thru for dinner tonight over at Cork's. All right, let's talk LSU and Army when we come back. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. The app's so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, $1 drop a bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks
have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13.
Sandigrove, join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Big Mike's in Denham Springs. We're at our normal 11 o'clock time because there's no Brian Kelly press conference. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. on Monday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Every time I hear Hanny on one of the promos on Friday when I'm in show and realize they've done their show from 10 to 1 on Fridays, I'm like, I bet those guys are having a great time. They're over at Rufino's hanging out. They just finished the show. Barry the bartender's got something working over there, and Rufino's is an awesome spot on Fridays before a home game. So hope Jimmy and Charlie are doing great over there. I have my suspicions that they very, very much are doing awesome. We're doing awesome here. Appreciate you making us part of your Friday. If you're looking for something to do this evening, I would submit Live After 5. I will be out there emceeing the event. It's always a lot of fun. The weather is fantastic. We're going to have some great brass music out there. It's open air. Bring your chair, bring your ice chest, and just come hang out. Got some great vendors as well. It's always a lot of fun downtown for Live After 5. I will be there this evening, starting at, you guessed it, 5 o'clock. LSU and Army will do battle tomorrow at 6:37 p.m. And as I was looking at this game on the schedule and thinking to myself, like, is there anything that Army could do that would give LSU some problems? You think about this Army team and this program, they've really resurrected it. I laid it out yesterday for you that Jeff Monken has just done a phenomenal job at Auburn. In the 3 years before he got there and his first 2 years, they were a total of 14-46. Since then, his third year and on, 60-35. He's just done a great, great job with this Army program. And you think about the option offense and the problems that it can present, and you've seen some upsets through the years with teams running that option offense, but this team can't really do it. And further than that, this is a nightmare matchup for Army. It's just a nightmare. And it is a dream matchup for LSU. Because the strength of this Army team is the defense. They lost to ULM, but it was a 17-13 game. They shut out Delaware State, whatever. They played a tight game at Syracuse. They held them to 29 points. They held Troy to 19. They held Boston College to 27. Like, they've been pretty solid defensively. And they have no chance to stop LSU. None. No chance. I mentioned the size of their defensive front. They're very small. They're not overly athletic. Garrett Schrader ran a good bit on him. He was the quarterback in Mississippi State 15 years ago, and now he's a starter at Syracuse. Jaden Daniels and this offense are just going to cruise over the strength of this Army team. And their weakness is the offense, so they're not going to be able to counter with against LSU's strength, LSU's weakness, which is the defense. Like, Army just can't punch back. And so I think this is a great situation for LSU, who's built this year very much offensively, you know that, to go out and just get a huge early lead, which allows the coaching staff the ability to play young players, get some guys some rest, that kind of thing. I mentioned this back on Wednesday when we started talking about this game. How many times did Les Miles run, toss, dive, run the clock, and you look up and it's 38-7, and you just get on down the road. Like, that's what a lot of those non-conference games look like. This LSU team is built the exact opposite. I mean, what indication do you have tomorrow that LSU is not going to come out and score touchdowns on 4 of their first 5 drives? They do it against Ole Miss. They do it against Missouri. They do it against Mississippi State. Why wouldn't they do it against Army? They are. This team is is just built in a way, and they're playing at a level that's going to allow the perfect scenario in this game. I'm an idiot, and I overanalyze things because it's technically my job to sit here and analyze the sports. But I'm petrified of like targeting stuff in the second half and getting guys hurt in a meaningless game. And I don't know how the staff's going to handle it tomorrow, but I believe they will have every opportunity to get Garrett Nussmeier in the third quarter and let him play, to get Caleb Jackson 15, 20 carries. They'll have the opportunity to play Lance Hurd as much or as little as they want. They can get Harold Perkins and Mason Smith out of the game in the second half if they want to. Because Army is just built to play good defense and run the ball. And what they're doing in trying to run the ball, which they do more than almost anybody in the country, is do it behind an offensive line that is 315 pounds at left tackle, 295 pounds at guard, 309 pounds at center, 305 at right guard, and 315 at right tackle. They're just grossly undersized. You look at Mason Smith, eat those guys alive. He's just bigger and stronger. There aren't a lot of 330-pound guys in the Army. Just not what we're looking for in the armed forces. And now you've taken away their advantage or their ability to compete with the cut blocks and just diving at people's legs. They've got to now stand up, engage, get pad level, and try to drive guys off the ball. They're not going to be able to do that. They couldn't do it to Troy last week. And they're not built to try to throw against LSU's secondary that struggled to cover. They're built to run it into Mason Smith and run it into Harold Perkins and run it into Greg Penn and run it into Omar Spates. And Auburn couldn't do that last week. What gives you the indication that Army's going to be able to do it? And they're supposed to be built to play defense, and they can play some defense against Syracuse. This ain't Syracuse. This is potentially the best offense in college football. I'm sure I'd get some dissents from Seattle, maybe Eugene. But this thing is humming, and it's just set up to be hot knife through butter at this point, which is what I think we're going to get tomorrow. If I'm looking for LSU, I want to see guys catch the ball. The drops have been something that has stalled some drives. You had an early drive that was stalled against Arkansas from a drop. We know there were some drops against Florida State that were really key. I want to see LSU catch the football. I'd like to see Caleb Jackson get in there and play. I think he offers a skill set that is usable for this team. Logan Diggs has very much asserted himself as the lead back, but I think Caleb Jackson gives you something. And maybe his role doesn't really increase until we get to Vegas next year. But I'd like to see a little bit of that. And I wouldn't be totally opposed to seeing some of these freshman receivers. I'd like to see Shelton Sampson. I'd like to see Kyle Parker. I'd like to see Jalen Brown, Kamorian Pimpton, Mac Markway at tight end. I think some of those guys can get some reps in this game if the staff will allow them to do that. On the defensive side, I've talked about it. I'd like to see Whit Weeks play a good bit. I think they need to get more snaps for Deshaun Womack, who may offer something in the way of pass rush that LSU hasn't seen a ton of this year. And so when I say this is a dream match for LSU, one, it's in winning the game, and two, it's just in how you can handle the game. And I've gotten dissenting opinions from former players on how much these game reps mean. I've heard, like Brandon Taylor will tell you, yeah, you need to get out there and you need to play. I don't care if it's 58-3 against Army. Go play, get reps. And I've heard people say, yeah, you get good reps in practice, it's fine. I don't know what the real answer is or what it isn't. But I tend to lean on, like, getting some game reps is fairly important. And this is not going to be less toss dive left, toss dive right, plug it down the field, punch in a touchdown, kick a field goal here or there, run some clock, and the backup quarterback never sees the field. I just don't think that's what this is going to be. This is going to be Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and Logan Diggs right down the field. Right down the field. Right down the field. It's just going to be it's wind sprints. It's what they do against everybody that they've played, except Florida State. And that's what I think is going to happen. And then we'll see with Brian Kelly. We're still learning some things about Brian Kelly. I knew what Les was going to do in I didn't know what he was going to do in a press conference, but I knew basically what he was going to say about injuries. I knew how he was going to handle blowouts. I knew what practice would look like. Like I know all that stuff. And Brian Kelly, we're still a little early with the information of what we're going to get. And I'm curious how early we see some guys sub in and see some guys play. One, it's a nice rest for your guys that have now played 8 weeks in a row. And two, it's an opportunity to get some guys some snaps that may be relevant as we move forward. And I think some of those guys I mentioned, I don't think the freshman wide receivers are necessarily going to be that relevant, but absolutely Caleb Jackson could be. Absolutely Deshaun Womack could be. Absolutely Kamorian Pimpton or Mac Markway could be. I wouldn't bet on those two guys. I think Mason Taylor's pretty much got that one locked down, but it's something to look at while I'm potentially watching some SEC football in the press box, quite frankly. But this matchup is a perfect one for LSU to completely dictate the flow of the game. And it is one, when I saw it on the schedule, thought completely otherwise. I thought, okay, you got to blow up a week. Can't work on anything that you're not good at, or work on anything for Alabama, or work on anything. You have to learn how to defend the triple option for a week. That's a total disaster. And in fact, you look up and that's not what you have to do. You can take this week as a real week to prepare your football team for the games that will come. And LSU set themselves up to play some really important games moving forward. You don't have to scrap this week and just work on cut blocks and dealing with ball handling in the backfield. You can deal with real life things that happen on the football field. We'll see how things go at 6:37 tomorrow night inside of Tiger Stadium. Hang out here on a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Corks brings you our Friday shows. CorksFishandShrimp.com. Awesome po' boys over at Corks. I know sometimes you're just craving that po' boy. Maybe it's a Friday afternoon. Maybe it's a Saturday. Just watching some football. I just need a po' boy. Corks has fantastic po' boys. Their fried shrimp is awesome. That recipe was born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. It can also help you out with some other menu items that aren't just fried shrimp and fried fish. They've got delicious baked potatoes topped with crawfish etouffee and those jumbo Gulf shrimp. Awesome, awesome menu item. That doesn't sound like a drive-thru, does it? Well, it's an experience. It's not quite what you'd expect from a drive-thru. Corks is awesome. Check out their menu at CorksFishandShrimp.com. Get the big haul if you got some folks coming over to watch LSU this weekend or watch some NFL football on a Sunday. Feeds 4 or 5 people. We'll get you that shrimp, catfish, crispy shoestring fries, as well as some of those honey butter biscuits that are fantastic, fantastic stuff. Corks is awesome. Love our friends over there at Corks. Paul and Michael I've known for 30 years, just about. And so their concept is awesome over there on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Get on by today, CorksFishandShrimp.com. We will take a timeout. Come back with a little Take It or Leave It. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Such an awesome campaign that LWCC has with their Champions of Louisiana campaign. They're just doing their part in showcasing the great people that we have in our state. They always tell me at LWCC that our state is loved. People love to come here for the culture, for the winter weather, for Mardi Gras or the music or the football or the food. But we ought to be admired as well, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of great stuff in Louisiana, and Marucci is certainly that. It started in a backyard shed here in Baton Rouge, and they built themselves up into such a respected company nationwide. It's not just making bats at this point. They've got their baseball performance lab, which attracts top talent from around the country to come work here and keeps talent inside the state. Plus, they're a tourism boon each and every summer in July with their Marucci World Series. Marucci Sports is the champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. We'd love to tell their story here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly
Week 8 in the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Woodlawn kick off at 7, and it's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Love a football Friday. I mentioned on Monday that the vibes just aren't great on Mondays. Just the start of the work week. Obviously LSU had won, but the Saints had taken it on the chin. Monday just feels like the week's a long way ahead. I love Friday shows. Feel the anticipation. Love them even more when it's a home weekend. The city's just a lot of fun when LSU is just played well, and we got a Saturday night in Death Valley coming up. I know it's just Army, but still a home game, and I think that it's going to be a fun day on campus tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to it. Vibes are good right now. I can't wait to get out to the Live After 5. Got a little party to attend this evening, so we're going to have some fun this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Michigan is spying on teams weeks in advance with a member of their staff who is a former Marine. Take it or leave it.
Look, I'll leave it. Now,
really?
But I mean, I don't think it's that egregious of a thing, but I don't think driving 75 miles an hour on I-49 is an egregious thing, but it's 5 miles over speed limit, and that's the rules. The rules clearly state you can't advance scout. For those that aren't aware, don't pay attention to Major League Baseball, that's literally a job description in baseball organizations called advanced scout. If the Cubs are playing the Reds next week, they send a scout to the Reds games that week, the week prior, and get a scouting report filled out. That's part of the process in Major League Baseball. But college football outlawed it in the early 90s. You're not allowed to send somebody to an in-person game to scout. And Michigan, it appears, is doing that with this guy who's stealing signs. I don't know if Greg Schiano's halftime interview where he was talking about there's some weird stuff going on out there, there's some stuff happening, was directly related to that. I'm not sure.
I mean, it could be a coincidence.
But if you just told me what they were doing, which is sending somebody to try to get signals, I would go, okay, that's just using your resources and trying to go do it.
Yeah.
Then you point me to the rule book and say, you literally can't do that, then you're cheating. And so, or you're flagrantly breaking rules. And it's just obvious to everyone, it appears. So this is Harbaugh getting in hot water again for this. He says he didn't know about it. False. I guarantee you, if somebody's providing scouting information to your team, you're well aware of that going on for sure. You want to try to tell me Rick Pitino doesn't know what the recruits are doing at 10 o'clock at night? Maybe I could try to sweep that under the rug, even though I don't believe that either. There's no chance. If there's a paid staffer literally providing the coaching staff information that he gleaned from being at a game previous, Jim Harbaugh's going to know about that. I think he might be getting sick of all these rules there at Michigan. They haven't gotten over the hump. I know he's an alum, but here's the take I've had in the Bayou Ford chat on our show, and I've had on the morning show as well. I think Dennis Allen's getting canned after this year, and I think the Saints are going to try to go hire Jim Harbaugh. That's based on no inside information whatsoever. That's just what I think.
Didn't
Harbaugh
he just signed like some kind of crazy contract?
But he may just be—he's a weird dude, and he may just be sick of all these rules. They're breaking rules left and right.
Yeah.
He was the one, remember, that was started the satellite camps. He's taking the whole team to Europe and all that kind of stuff. Like, he may just want to go coach football in the NFL, and it's just a little bit easier to do that at the NFL level. He's a proven winner everywhere he's been. He won at Stanford. He won in San Francisco. He's now winning at Michigan. Like, he's a really good coach. I think the Saints would do well to get him, but it's a little down the road. That's just my prediction down the road.
James Franklin will finally win a close game this week. Take it or leave it.
Close game, big game. Either way, he's not doing a great job of that at Penn State. He wins the blowouts over Iowa and Northwestern all the time. Then they start playing the real teams, and it doesn't go so hot. I do think they're going to win this week. I'm going to take it. I think that quarterback's good enough, and I think Aller's good enough, and I'm just not sold on Ohio State at this point. Now,
Ohio State a 5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, it's in the shoe, and I realize that, hey, taking Penn State in these big spots has backfired every time you've done it in the Franklin era. But
Ohio State hasn't looked great, though.
No,
they haven't really played anyone.
I think Penn State's better, and I'll just take them to go into the shoe and win. I want to be careful how I phrase this. Not I'll get in trouble, but I want to adequately express what I'm feeling when I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Like, Penn State's a team I would like to watch in the playoff. I've seen enough of Clemson. I've seen enough of Ohio State. I've now seen enough of Georgia. I've seen enough of Alabama. Like, Penn State's a team I would like to see in it because I think that that's legitimate. I don't have any interest in seeing Michigan State back in the playoff. I don't have any interest in seeing Cincinnati in the playoff. Like, I don't want to see any of that. But Penn State's at a level that I would like to see them in. I wouldn't bat an eye if Oregon cracked in and got into the deal. Washington, yeah, I guess with this team and that quarterback, I'm in for new blood as long as it's within reason. And Penn State's within reason. I have no reason to like or dislike Penn State. I don't care about Penn State. But I've seen enough of Ohio State. I don't need to see them in the playoff anymore. I would like to see Penn State kind of break through, and they're one of the teams I feel like could. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I wonder what happens if they beat Ohio State and then they go to Michigan, and they're going to be playing Michigan at home. And if they win that game, I mean, they're definitely going to be in. Yes. I think, even if they don't win.
Because they're probably going to play freaking Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. Because Iowa's going to go 11-1, averaging 8 points a game. It's unbelievable. The Big Ten West is so bad, so bad.
All right, moving on here. LSU in purple uniforms. Take it or leave it. I think I know where the uniform czar is going here.
I am the czar. My opinions are final and correct. I'm going to leave it. I just don't – I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I love LSU in the whites. I mean, if they wear, like, purple with white pants and white hats, that's just an abomination. I hate that. Purple with the gold and is okay. You do it once or twice a year against Army and UAB, but I don't love it. So I wish they would just stick to the classics, but that's just me.
All right, moving on here. Camo end zones for LSU. It seems they've painted the end zones with the camouflage, Army camouflage to be exact. So take that or leave it.
I'm leaving it.
Really?
I'm leaving it. I don't think it looks very good. And I understand the whole thing. Like, I was driving today and saw walk-ons all set up. And they've got Go Army, G-E-A-U-X Army written on it. And I understand this entire thing. It's like I said earlier this week, I understand that Scott Ravelli says don't boo Army. I understand painting the end zones. I understand, doing something with the American flag pregame or whatever they're going to do. I understand, like, the whole deal. I get it. I just don't care for it. Like, I don't care for the camo end zones. It's just I don't like it. And I'll go back to my take for those that weren't listening earlier this week. Like, I think Army will appreciate not being booed, and if they get a nice reception. I also think all those guys are adjusted enough and mature enough to understand that this is a football game. In their grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter at all. And they'd like to just experience a Saturday night in Death Valley. And when Alabama runs out of that tunnel, they get booed. And when Army runs out of that tunnel, just like Alabama does, like I think the expectation would be, this is what it's like inside Tiger Stadium. These guys don't want us to win. Let's go play and see what we can do. I don't think they think that, these guys are disrespecting us. I don't want to go fight for these guys. Like, I just think that's while why it's a reasonable opinion to have. I'm just like, hey, let's go play a football game.
Yeah.
It's a football game.
It's like they're trying to overdo just like being respectful of them. It's like, yeah, you want to be respectful, but it seems like they're like, apparently I saw Wilson Alexander on Twitter say that they're going to be playing each other's alma maters as well. Like the bands. I don't know. It's
that stuff I don't really care about at all, but like, it's just a lot, but it's fine. It is a cool, I can't wait to see Army's band perform. I think that's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
I've said many times, like, I don't care about going to Army Navy. Like, that's not a bucket list thing for me. To go watch two pretty poor football teams go play in the cold is not for me. I fully understand that it's the environment and the pageantry and the cadets and the Marines and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. I don't need to go to Italy again ever. I don't care about seeing that either. So I'm just not interested in. I'm very sheltered and just kind of like one track. Like I don't need it. Long answer to that, but I don't need it.
All right, last one here. The Astros even the series with the Rangers. Texas is in trouble. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it just because the Stros are just
you can't kill them.
Yeah, they're just relentless. The fact that they have played in the ALCS 7 times in a row, like I've said this on the show, but like that is incredible to me. Like baseball is such a game of it's a game where the
really
lesser team the lesser team wins all the time.
Yeah.
Like look at the Braves this year.
Yeah.
I mean, just a powerhouse. The Cubs went to Atlanta, I guess at this point a month ago, and just needed to get a game, and like couldn't do it. I mean, the Cubs are throwing everything at them, and they're just hitting homers. They were just, and then they come out there and they just lose. The Phillies just took it to them.
Yep.
And the Astros just have not had that week in the first or second round.
They get it together in somehow, some way, and then they get to the playoffs.
Correa's gone and Springer's gone, and
Abreu's freaking out. Like he didn't have a great season, but he's hit like 4 home runs in the postseason.
Bregman's just like the consistent. It's incredible to me. I have no dog in the fight with the Astros or the Rangers, but I think that Texas is in trouble letting Houston get back. But hey, it's one of those deals like Houston hadn't played well at home all year, so maybe the Rangers need to get it back to Houston and figure it out there. I guess we'll just have to see. That'll do it for Take It or Leave It. I'm excited to watch a little bit of baseball this weekend. I love postseason baseball, and it's awesome. We're about done here on a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, get my final pick for Army. I think you know where I'm headed there, but I'll give you a couple more things to look for in this one. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Auctioner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Auctioner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide patients in the region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Auctioner is the first, and they're the only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. They've got access to their protocols, access to MD Anderson specialists, their researchers. All this is fantastic news because everyone fights cancer one way or another, whether it's a loved one, friend, or yourself having cancer. And Auctioner and MD Anderson are continuing that fight. 7 different locations going to be offering this expert care across New Orleans, St. Tammany, as well as Baton Rouge. Auctioner and MD Anderson working together to certify some additional sites moving forward in the future. If you'd like more information on this fight against cancer that Auctioner and MD Anderson are putting together, visit auctioner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
This Sunday, we bring you 3 different NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff Lions at Ravens. Then immediately following that, we have the Chargers and Chiefs, and then our nightcap, the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Might have to send my guy Chris Demouy a text message here pretty shortly from the 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU Baseball Podcast. He's with us every week during baseball season. He's out at the box watching Luke Holman, 92-93, a little breaking ball at 82. Watching Stephen Milan play some defense. And Gage Jump, not big, but the left-hander from UCLA is on the mound for the first time this fall. So got to get some intel from Demouy on that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it next week during the bye week. Gets me all fired up. Love the little fall baseball. Tomorrow, LSU and Army are going to start at 6:37. For our purposes, 6:30. That means at 1:30 p.m. from Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee, it'll be Charles Hannegriff and Matt Musso on Eagle 98.1 Game Day. If you're headed out to campus to see LSU and Army and need some tailgate supplies, including ice, stop on by Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. You'll see Hanny and Musso over there with Game Day. They'll be there for 3 hours pregame from 1:30 to 4:30. That's when the LSU Sports Radio Network takes over. That is myself, Brandon Taylor, and Marlon Favorite between the ramps of the PMAC. If you're on campus, want to come hang out with us, we'll be on from 4:30 till 6 o'clock. That's when we give it up to the broadcast team of Chris Blair, Doug Morrow, and Gordy Rush. They'll have the call of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. We will come back on for the Fighting Tiger post-game report over on Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge, taking your interaction via Twitter and discussing LSU and Army. 90 minutes after the game goes final, Charles Hannegriff and Richard Dixon from right here inside the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. They'll give you Eagle 98.1 Game Day. And they'll be taking your phone calls, reacting to LSU and Army in the day in college football. Should be an interesting one. I can't wait to see what happens in Tuscaloosa. Got an eye on what's going on up in Columbus, Ohio as well. Should be a lot of fun. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. It wasn't a traditional Football Friday edition because we always start with LSU, but instead we started with the Saints and my thoughts on what was a dismal performance in the Dome last night and a depressing effort and a depressing environment, really. You can find that on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints, as well, if you'd like it in a more digestible 10 or 12-minute format. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com was with us at 1:15 talking Tigers. Got you set for the NFL weekend. Gave you my picks against the spread in the SEC. and we had some fun with Take It or Leave It as well. So that means there's only one thing left to do, and that's pick a game.
I think our guys understand what the task is at hand on Saturday. We got a game to play as well, and an opponent that, causes you problems if you're not thinking the right way and playing the game the way it needs to be played against Army.
And the Army Black Knights.
These guys came here because they wanted to play teams like this. They want to be challenged, and they want to be put in difficult situations.
Now, finally, pick.
If you were listening earlier, I kind of gave my thoughts on this game. This is a terrible matchup for Army. Just awful. The strength of their team is their defense, and they just don't have the guys to keep up with Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, this offensive line that's so big and physical and playing so well. They're just undersized, and they're just outmanned. And when they can't play good defense, they're not going to be able to keep up because they haven't been a great offense all year, and they're at a talent disadvantage there as well. And maybe without their starting quarterback, we'll have to see. We're not sure. So LSU in this point, and you would think about, maybe it's a trap game, maybe it's a letdown spot. I just don't know that this LSU offense has let down in them. They're just so talented and so explosive, and they're so much in rhythm. It's the way I felt about the 2019 team. It was like, man, you think those guys are going to come out and not execute? If the strength of your team was defense and they didn't bring the same juice and somebody came and knocked them off the ball, I could see the defense not quite bringing that kind of level, and that's the strength of your team. LSU's offense, they're going to have a blast out there playing, and they're going to go down the field and they're going to score a ton of points. That's just the way it is. So it's not necessarily what's the score going to be and how's the game's going to go. LSU's going to take care of this thing in the first half. They're going to go down. They're going to score a ton of points in the first half, and they're going to be in an opportunity in the second half to get some guys some looks. I'm glad that Lance Hurd's going to get some looks at right tackle. I hope that Caleb Jackson, as a freshman running back, gets to play. I want to see Garrett Nussmeier operate the offense and throw the football, because he's one play away from going into a big game, and he's likely going to be your guy next year. So I think any game reps you can get him would be very, very nice. Defensively, it's just about doing your job. This is not a throwaway week like it would be, but it's a week where you got to do your job. You got to stop this dive option. There's some option aspects of it. The quarterback's going to run a good bit. They're not going to test you throwing the ball a lot, but you need to be in the right place, and you're going to have an opportunity to make a lot of tackles. And that's something LSU was atrocious at a month ago that they've been better at recently. They've got to do it again on Saturday night inside Death Valley, and I believe that they will. Tomorrow is not about LSU and Army and what's the final score. It's another opportunity to get out there in some gorgeous weather and tailgate outside of Tiger Stadium on campus. Where else would you rather be on a Saturday than tailgating outside Tiger Stadium? It's about seeing the band come down the hill and getting in the stadium and enjoying a Saturday night in Death Valley, because we're certainly going to get that. And then you'll get to the bye week, and then we'll start talking about that team in Tuscaloosa and dealing with that 2 weeks from now. But this is about LSU taking care of their business, enjoying a great day on campus, and I think all that stuff is going to happen on Saturday night. And I think that Garrett Nussmeier is going to get some significant run. My final score in this game is going to be LSU 42, Army 14. I do think the Black Knights will get in the end zone a couple of times, maybe even once late, because I don't think they're going to quit. They're going to keep coming at LSU, but that LSU offense should score 28 points or so in the first half and cruise to a comfortable win. And we'll certainly look forward to that, and then we'll move on from LSU and Army. Our Friday shows every single Friday brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Love our folks over at Cork's. If you can stop by for your tailgate, that's an awesome option for you over at Cork's. They can get you a big old tray of catfish, big old tray of fried shrimp, big old tray of French fries. I think everybody will be quite pleased with that. They're right there on Jefferson between Foster and on Nicholson, between Foster and Jefferson. New food concept from the folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue, and now they bring you Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu. It's really awesome, and it's really expansive. It's got stuff that you would not expect from a quick service restaurant, including awesome crawfish etouffee that they made famous over there at Couillon's. Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, corksfishandshrimp.com. We've done all we can do. Reminder, on Monday, a traditional Monday, not having Brian Kelly's press conference, so it'll be OTB 7 to 10, live at lunch from 11 to 1, not starting at 10 o'clock and then we'll be on 1 to 3. Matt will drive you home from 3 to 6 like he's about to on his Friday show. We'll have the Riot Radio Hour, guest pickers, and a lot of fun. We're back with you on Monday. Have an awesome fall weekend. Hope to see you live at 5. If not, we'll see you next Monday at 1 o'clock. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.